You have one of the best headlines on LinkedIn. I left LinkedIn because of LinkedIn to do LinkedIn. So what is that about?
I was living the dream life, really nice pay. I just felt like it was so boring almost. That really scared me. And then I made a very public announcement and saying, watch me grow my own following from 2,000 to 10,000 followers in 90 days. I did hit that goal and I was bringing everyone onto that journey and showing the behind the scenes.
Topics, what should I write about?
First of all, in terms of posting, don't hit your writing.
Really? That's good.
Alicia Teltz, a LinkedIn personal branding and social selling expert, helping you all turn your LinkedIn presence into influence and create visibility.
What's the point? Why should I consider posting on LinkedIn?
How the would they know that you exist? What you have is you, your personal brand, your identity. And the more you can hone down on this, the less you can be replaced by AI.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate and I'm going to tell you everything that is going through my mind. Who am I to speak about marketing X topic when there are so many experts out there?
Yeah, a lot of people have this imposter syndrome on LinkedIn. The easiest way to get over this is literally
Alicia, welcome to the Adaptive Times.
Thank you
I'm
for
so
having
glad you're here. Do you want to tell us your story firsthand?
I grew up in Germany and then I was like in B2B tech sales for 15 years. Biggest organizations from like SAP, Mastercard, Gartner, most recently LinkedIn. And I have actually left my job at LinkedIn to now be self-employed. So it's just so crazy. Like right now, my life is everything that I knew because it was always in huge organizations, very corporate, very organized, to complete chaos.
Yeah.
But this is kind of where I am now. And in terms of, who you are and what you want in life is so formed by where you spend your time. And if you're in a corporate job, that is very much
you think?
the time you're in. So it's just crazy to think right now, I'm in my mid-30s, to have like this complete change and figuring life out again.
Yeah.
But this is kind of, yeah.
And I guess if I go back, rewind, right? A lot of big tech and corporate companies, latest one, LinkedIn. I think you have one of the best headlines on LinkedIn that you say, I left LinkedIn because of LinkedIn to do LinkedIn. So what is that about? What is that story?
Yeah. So when I was at LinkedIn, and it's so
Yeah.
funny because 99% of LinkedIn employees never post on LinkedIn themselves or make themselves visible. And I was one of them. I was always advising those multi-billion-dollar businesses. I was a global client executive on how to show up on the platform, how to post, how to position yourself, craft good content. And I absolutely no clue how to do it myself. So I was only teaching what I knew, like in theory, but not in practice.
Yeah.
And then last year, about a year ago in February, I made a very public announcement on my own LinkedIn saying, watch me grow my own following from 2000, which were like old connections that I accumulated, like
Work connection stuff. Yeah.
very random ones as well, to 10,000 followers in 90 days. Luckily, one day before the deadline, I did hit that goal. And I was bringing everyone onto that journey and showing like the behind the scenes of saying, I'm a LinkedIn employee and I don't know actually how the algorithm works, how to post, how to craft good content. So I was sharing that journey. And I brought a lot of people onto my page and following me. And so many people slipped into my DMs asking for advice, for help, also liked what I was doing, that in the end, I decided to quit my job at LinkedIn and to do this full time. I'm now doing freelance or like self-employed person. And this is why I say I left LinkedIn because of LinkedIn, because I posted on LinkedIn and now to set up a business about LinkedIn. And you can even add on LinkedIn.
Yeah. I mean, that loop can be a never-ending loop.
Yeah.
I mean, I was one of the people that follow you in that 10,000 batch because I think what you did very smart is like it became such a personal hand, and I don't know, like we were vouching for you. It's like, yes, we do want you to cross the line.
Like everyone likes to vouch for the underdog and they love to see a transformation. And also I really kept people in because it was something that they could visibly see on my profile. So sometimes I got DMs of people saying, oh, I just checked your profile and you're now on like 5,000 whatever followers and like keep going. So they could always see in their own time how I'm tracking. And with all of my posts, I put at the end of the post, like how I'm tracking, what my goal is. Am I behind my goal? Am I ahead of my goal? Like what's working, what isn't, how I'm feeling about it. And that just really built that like loyal following of people being invested and seeing like they want to see the end of the story.
And I think that's what resonated with me a lot. It resonated because suddenly it was not like the boring, look what I did content that we see often on LinkedIn. And it was a lot about the personal angle while being valuable. So that's when I wasn't posting on LinkedIn back then. And I saw you and I started a few months later, actually. And I was like, it's not that easy. It's not that, sorry, it's not that difficult in a sense of like you can share what you learn in the day. We will come to that as in like how and why and the specifics. So let me go back then. One thing I'm curious is like, were you always thinking in your story, were you always thinking I want to go solo, or like, or did it just happen because of the personal brand and the opportunity?
Really, really good question. So there was
Yeah.
actually like a huge master plan like
Okay.
in play, but it was messy. So I was living very much like the dream life on
Mm.
paper. So as I said, like the corporate jobs that I had really nice pay, holidays, I had a countryside house, like my own house with my long-term partner. We were together for 9 years, dog, Tesla on the driveway, like everything like on paper is perfect. And I just felt like it was so boring almost. It was like so predictable. Like I knew how my life in 10 years would look like. There would be marriage, there would be kids, there would be like a promotion at work, but it would just be like the day to day would always be the same. And I just realized like I don't want to be 90 years old on my deathbed and thinking my life was very predictable
From
and
my 20s.
vanilla.
Yeah.
Honestly. And
Yeah.
that really scared me. And I knew that I had a bit of like an entrepreneurial like fire in me. But when you're in a corporate job, like the golden handcuffs are insane. Like you get like
Yeah.
all of those like perks, as I said, like a nice pay. Also with big organizations, especially LinkedIn, they were such a good employer. Like I didn't work like, I mean,
Yeah,
I had
I know what you're gonna say. You might not work some Fridays, or like you might close stuff at 5. Yeah,
exactly.
it's not like the best investment banking or like working 12 hours.
Exactly. Or like in a startup where you're like really like in the weeds because you're such a small fish in a huge pond. And it's not that I was like lazy. It's like this is just like the culture in a
Yeah.
huge organization.
And all of the benefits and everything, so good to live it.
So
Like unless, yeah, I think people unfortunately usually live it when they reach the point either burnout or physical impact. So I'm glad you know, appreciate and saw it kind of you. But was it then why you started posting?
yeah. So
Yeah.
basically, I knew I wanted to change something up, but I did not know what I wanted to do. Also, I was really scared of just like quitting my job. And for me personally, I was in a situation where my partner back at the time, he quit his corporate job to become self-employed.
Okay.
So we had a mortgage and
yeah.
I had the Tesla on finance, which wasn't a clever decision.
Yeah.
But I had bills to pay. So it would have been so risky to just quit my job as well when he was just setting up his business. So I was kind of like trapped and I felt so like my freedom was so limited and it really wound me up. But as I said, I had no idea what I wanted to do. So what I was thinking is if I have an audience, like eyeballs on me, no matter what it is, whether it's like opening a Pilates studio, whether I'm doing consulting,
It's
like
still
no
good.
matter what, it will help me.
Yeah.
So I started posting on LinkedIn for those two reasons. One, because literally I was a hypocrite in my role, teaching others how to post and I had no clue how to post. Because also like I always stood like in front of those people, like those employees saying like it's the best thing for your career if you
And you're
post.
not-
I wasn't doing it. And I realized there are so many more reasons on why I wasn't doing it. It's not just like lazy, like we can go into that. But this is why I started posting. And then when you actually start posting and you don't have the pressure of you need to post to drive sales or do XYZ, you have the freedom to figure out what you actually enjoy talking about.
Yeah.
And this is where I realized I enjoyed like empowering women and just not just women, but it started out in the beginning as women because I also launched like a women's only like book club. But I just wanted to show the world like how powerful it is having like this asset in your personal brand.
Yeah. And it's putting yourself out there and you don't know what, like, it's like inviting opportunities, I guess, attracting opportunities instead of figuring that out.
Exactly.
It's risky, but it's rewarding.
Exactly. And that was also for me like the safest way to leap into entrepreneurship without taking like the cold plunge. I was like figuring it out step by step, whilst I was still working at LinkedIn. And then the leap was easier because as I said, I knew I had an audience.
Okay, first advice then I'm keeping here for anyone thinking that I find my life a bit boring. I would like to shake things up. It's like I like the soft easy into entrepreneurship. Build the audience first. How do you do it? Pick the platform and the topic that speaks to you and then start from that. And figure it out. You don't have to have the answers day one.
Because also finances are a huge aspect, and I always want to be very open about it, because when someone hears about my story, they think like, oh, she had like a $250,000 paycheck. I've never been great with money, and that means I was always good at making money, but also very good at spending money. And then it's like, it's really scary to take the leap into entrepreneurship when you don't have that financial safety net.
What would you have done differently? Would you have approached the financial element differently so you prepare better? Because I think that's another point. So the people I talk to, my colleagues, my friends, the people I coach, they're always like, realistically, I cannot quit. I have bills, I have mortgage. So a lot of people might feel like it, but it's very scary to do it. So I'm like, is there a way to prepare better?
I would have actually done it sooner, even
Okay.
though I was in a very unstable financial situation. Because also before I leaped into entrepreneurship, I split up with my partner and we sold the house. But selling the house took like fucking almost a year.
Yeah.
So I had to pay for like 2 properties. And then the Tesla, I couldn't sell the Tesla because of Elon Musk. Thank you. Long story. But normally, and I looked up so many like things in terms of how to start entrepreneurship, because I wanted to have like this like final thing of like, okay, yeah, they tell me to do it and I will do it. But they all said like have at least like 3 months of savings, and I didn't have them
Really?
because
Oh, that's scary.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that's the thing, because I never really saved, because I knew I had like money coming in, and I don't know, as I said, like I like to spend money. This is not an advice. This is just me personally reflecting on my weaknesses.
This is an advice not to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, have at least 3, yes.
Yeah. But then I was also thinking, how long will it take me to save that up? It would have taken a long time. I had credit card debt. And as I said, like I couldn't save any money. I always felt like there is never the right time. There's never all lights at green. And who doesn't say that when you start your own business that you can't make the same amount of money or even more money? So then in the end, I just took a leap of faith. And to be fair, I considered my risks. Like the biggest risk for me was, if it doesn't work out, I put on more credit card debt, but
Yeah.
I just go back into a corporate job. Luckily, I had a really good CV, so I
Yeah.
was very cocky and confident that
That
if
you-
it doesn't work out, I will get
Yeah.
another sales job, and then I just pay off my credit cards that way.
But was it the point that you, I guess, thinking of that financial stress or the lack of savings, did you then quit at a point that you kind of have some jobs lined up that came from your audience? So you knew you would have some income month one? Because I think the people, what people are scared the most, myself included, it's the gap in between. Until I figure out what I want to sell, because up until the time you were posting without selling something, you know? So it's like, how do you turn this around? And will they want it? And will they come?
Yeah. So what I did is I got a lot of people slipping into my DMs.
Yeah.
So I could see that they were asking for advice. They were asking like, do you do like one-on-one strategy calls? Can you review my profile? So I knew I could charge for that. And when I did actually hand in my notice, whilst I was still working my notice period, I put out an offer saying like, I review like your LinkedIn profile. And I made 3 grand in like 2 days. And then I knew, okay, it works. I mean, at that point, I had already handed in my notice, and LinkedIn
Yeah.
hated that I was doing it. But sometimes you have to be a little bit more bold and do these things. And if you have an employer that is forward thinking and you start putting yourself out on LinkedIn and you are open with your manager about this is a passion of yours. Let's say you want to do coaching on the side and you just tell them this is a passion of mine. I would love to explore it in my free time outside of work. Would you be okay with that? Normally they should say yes, because also that brings so many new perspectives and angles, and also your personal satisfaction. If you are satisfied as an individual, you will also be a better employee. So when you do that and you set up your LinkedIn profile, let's say with like a one-on-one, like book a call with me link, this shows you how much demand can you actually like generate.
Yeah. And do it beforehand.
Yeah.
I think. Even if you pivot or change on the way of what you sell or what you do.
But one thing I must say, a lot of people say, like, as I said, like the big like entrepreneurs, like the gurus, say start your business alongside your full-time job, which kind of, as I said, like agree, but you will never be able to generate as much demand and income if you do it like whilst you're still in a full-time employment. You don't have that headspace. When I actually left LinkedIn, how much my business like accelerated, because I do put all my energy in it. And also, I know this is not everyone's cup of tea, but that pressure financially also allowed me to be like really
You
innovative
really
and
need to
on
make
it.
it
I'm not
drive.
just like, that's the thing, because if you have still like your nice paycheck, you're not going.
That's the thing. It's like you're not relying on it, so you might be more of a side hobby. But also thinking of the podcast now, it's the post I put we were discussing, I put yesterday on LinkedIn, and I was like, this is a full-time job, and generally I don't have capacity. So I know I cannot do it as good as I want.
Yeah, and also the thing is, if you're still in employment and you're not quite sure when you want to leave and you start your side hustle, after a while, one will take over priority. You can't give 50-50. And also, as I said, like you do both things half-heartedly. But also your manager, everyone at your company will notice if you're starting to check out. And you don't want to
Yeah.
leave your employment with a bit of like a
You don't
burn
leave on
bridge or
low.
something. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I'm gonna go back. You said earlier I wasn't posting for many reasons. When you said your story is like I was telling them to do it and I wasn't posting. Why you were not posting?
I was thinking about this so much because the thing is, posting on LinkedIn, like, I couldn't say that it wasn't because I didn't have time. I worked at LinkedIn.
Yeah.
If I have LinkedIn open on my desktop,
Exactly.
it is not weird. So it wasn't like those practical reasons as why I wouldn't do it. So I was reflecting more on personally how I felt
deeper.
about posting. Yeah. And I came across a post that was talking about the Cringe Mountain.
Okay.
So basically, the analogy is that, and it was specifically around like posting, but I think it applies to like kind of everything in life. So in order to get to the land of desire, which is like your ideal outcome, you have to climb Cringe Mountain, which is basically being seen publicly trying and potentially failing and figuring shit out and being like a little bit embarrassing because it is like you're stumbling your way through. And anyone who is on that journey with you, who is trying something out of their comfort zone, they will cheer you on. They will support you because they know how it feels. And it's only the people like stuck at base camp that would roll their eyes and wonder what you're doing. And actually, I think it's like their own insecurities that they think
Jealousy?
like, yeah. So therefore, they're just like a bit, and don't listen to them. Like, you don't need them. You only want to, work with those that are on the journey with you. And then when I saw that analogy, I just thought like, fuck it, I just try.
Fair. I hadn't thought about the cringe. I think it's a very interesting story what you're saying about the cringe. I'm trying to remember what was in my mind. I was reflecting on the way here in the morning. What was on my mind? So I'm gonna play devil's advocate, like I'm an average employee person, whatever, not posting on LinkedIn, and I'm gonna tell you everything that is going through my mind, judging from what was happening to me. And I want your answer. So, first one, I remember I was thinking, who am I to speak about marketing X topic when there are so many experts out there? Why to listen to me? So, imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
What do you say to it?
Because if you think about it, oftentimes we don't actually feel scared posting on Instagram, like sharing our holiday pictures, or like Facebook. I don't know if anyone is still on Facebook. Like, but we
There's
don't
no
have
authority. That's why it's like personal.
Exactly. So exactly as you said, I think a lot of people have this imposter syndrome that they think like, oh, what will my colleagues think if I suddenly show up on LinkedIn teaching others how marketing, let's say, works? Or like, who am I to be a thought leader and share whatever is happening? And that probably was also a reason why I didn't post it on LinkedIn. The easiest way to get over this is literally be open and transparent about it and share. Like, you don't need to preach. Just show up as a human and say like, look, this is currently what I'm learning. This is where I'm not quite sure what's happening. Put it out as a question. Put it out as a state that you're currently in. Like, what is happening in that situation? What are your thoughts? And then ask the world what they're thinking. And that indirectly positions you as a thought leader, because it shows that you are like immersing yourself in that topic, that you're really thinking about like smart questions. And for any of like your clients, your colleagues, your managers, they will think like, oh, she's really like on it. Like, she wants to like grow. She's asking for outside opinions to level themselves up. So it can only be positive. So you don't need to think about, I need to teach. Think about like, I want to spark discussions.
Yes. Okay, that's a good spin-off. So one is how to invite discussions. I think the other one on that front that I eventually got me over into posting as well, it's the value. It's like it, and I have the same, by the way, with self-promotion at work. Another topic that everyone's asking about is, yeah, but you're branding within work and corporate, and how do you show your achievement without being cocky? And I'm like, actually, if you turn it around and you think, what is the value? So I'm sharing the story to leave you with something rather than look what I did. We're all in the same boat, kind of. I'm sharing in case you're in this, rather than look how awesome I am and why I did this, and you should learn.
That kind of puts you onto the same level as
Yeah.
the reader, and you're not putting yourself above them. And that just makes you more relatable and more human. Another really easy tip is just see what's happening in the news, or when you're reading a book or listening to a podcast. put a post out about it. Say what was like the key takeaways for you. Don't just like summarize it, but say like, for me as a marketing professional, this is what really stood out to me. It's like one point, not just saying like, this is my summary, but just saying like, this is what stood out to me. Like I found this really interesting. Like, what do you guys?
What did stand out to you? Interesting, refreshing. So I like the human angle. One thing that stands out in your industry rather than necessarily sharing.
And it does not need to be polished and perfect. Just start posting, start putting yourself out there. And the beautiful thing is like, you will find your tribe. If you show up authentically as yourself with either with humor or like depending on how your character is, you will gravitate towards the people that have like kind of the same energy.
Other thought that I had back then, if I, especially on the point you said, I'm building on this around, there is a news in my industry and I'm going to share what stands out to me. What if it's wrong? So it's a fear of failure. That's something I remember I was thinking. What if not many people agree with what stands out for me or what I think?
Yeah, I think it's about like, if that is something that you are concerned about, like any sort of backlash or what, the manager might think, or if they, might disagree. If you nuance it, if you literally say, these are my personal thoughts because of X, Y, Z, and just, as I said, like open it as a discussion, because then you're kind of like, I'm inviting opinions rather than, as I said, like, this is my stance. And then people can be more like cross with it. But I do think like it is important to share your opinions and say openly what you're thinking, especially as women.
I remember I was saying like, okay, I'm happy at Google. I don't look for a job. I don't have a side hustle or anything to sell. What's the point? Why? Like, what's in it for me? Why should I consider posting on LinkedIn when I'm not looking for something?
You know what? Those people are the most difficult to convince, and I do try. And it's funny, my sister, she's very, very accomplished. She has a bachelor's, a master's degree, a PhD, works for a huge German company in a leadership position. She was literally speaking on like the global like sales kickoff on stage, and people were taking like professional pictures of her, and then they were asking her like, oh, are you putting those pictures on LinkedIn? And she was like, no, why should I? Look, my sister, she has been on this journey. Like, she sees my posts, like we meet up, we talk, and even someone who is that close to me still doesn't see the reason. That just shows how difficult it is when you have that mindset to change someone's mindset. And I don't want to preach and try to convert someone if they can't see it, but it's just, especially in this world of AI, where so many jobs are being made redundant, change, what you have is your personal brand, your identity, your unique experiences. Also meaning, if you are, let's say, an accountant, but also a yoga teacher, you know, like in your private time, whatever you do, this combination is so unique. There's only one of you, like this is your DNA. And the more you can hone down on this, the less you can be replaced by AI. So if you are, as I said, like in a corporate job and you don't want to like do your business or anything like that, for your visibility internally. So there is experiments, it's called like the exposure effect. That means the more often you have seen someone, the more positive you're being like regarded by them. It's because the brain thinks of like familiarity as safe and as good. And therefore, in like modern terms or LinkedIn terms, it's like, this is how you're being perceived, as someone authoritative, like someone that is just on it.
It's all the foundation of marketing as well, right? The recency, the exposure, you instinctively go for a brand or package you see on the aisle rather than, so it's safe for you as a product.
Exactly. And whether you are in a sales role and you try to sell to clients, or you're just in a normal corporate job and you want to have a promotion eventually, it's kind of selling, because you try to sell yourself for that next position. So the more you can be front of mind of those decision makers, the better. So internally, the managers, your manager's manager, even connect with the C-suite of your business. They will love that you're posting, because you are literally promoting the company. So you're helping the whole business. Like, they will actually, again, if they are a forward-thinking company, they will cheer you on. And then you can say like, oh yeah, I spoke to our like CFO about XYZ. Yeah, we spoke on LinkedIn. Like, how cool is that?
When I started posting a year and a half ago, it was never my intention to like, it wasn't my mind to live. It was different, completely conditions. But I can vouch that from the moment I started posting, how many senior directors and VPs were seeing me at the corridor, and they were they were either saying, I love your post, or actually they had something to start a conversation instead of just saying an awkward hi and passing each other. So the visibility of just, you know, that it opened for me, it's crazy. And I didn't have any other goal. I didn't want to leave Google. I was happy in my role. I wasn't changing any, you know?
Yeah.
I was, because I was in those believers that I'm like, what's the point? But actually, I saw the impact.
And also, I want to encourage anyone who starts actually posting and they only get like 1 or 2 likes from their
Yeah,
colleagues.
that's
I
the other
was
one.
there. So you will see, you might get like 500 impressions for your post. That is 500 people seeing
Seeing
what
it.
you're doing, but they might not engage, especially if you're in a corporate setting and not just like in an entrepreneurial one. But don't underestimate how many people see what
Yeah.
you're doing. And just because they don't physically like click that like button doesn't mean that they think positively of you.
Let's go a bit deeper into the nitty gritty then, because we covered different bits of how to post, what to post.
Hey, it's Angeliki. And Kali, if you're enjoying watching this, please hit the subscribe button.
So my first question is, okay, can you give me a quick fire list of ideas of like, what could I post about? I'm in my job, in my corporate job. Let's say I don't have like a major side hustle or something. What could I post about to make it easy and accessible and push through the authority fear, shout out, self promo?
Yeah. First of all, in terms of posting frequency, don't think you need to go from 0 to 100 straight away. If you just hold yourself accountable to 1 post a week, that is amazing. And then you can always scale up further. But if you just block out your calendar for like 1 hour a week to put out a LinkedIn post, that is amazing. By the way, like, it's only 1% of LinkedIn users, and LinkedIn has 1.3 billion users.
Yeah.
It's only 1% who actively post, meaning they post once a week. So you're already like in the top 1% if you post once a week on LinkedIn. It's crazy. Like, you can cut through the noise so quickly.
I had a question that came in from the socials when I asked people, and one of them was, how much is too much presence? Like, what's the point you become fatigued, kind of, again, another post, which is the other side of the 1 post a week.
Yes, I love this question. But also, this is literally just us being too big-headed, thinking that other people will see everything we're doing. The algorithm actually only shows your post to around like 30% of your audience. So that means if you post every day, let's say, they might not see it. Not everyone is also on LinkedIn every day. So first of all, them actually seeing all of your posts is quite small, that chance. The second is, if you think about your own scrolling behavior, how much do you actually remember what you've seen? Like, you might see that someone posted, but do you really remember?
I don't
what
remember who
they-
it was. It's so hard to remember who it was. I might remember the idea, but like,
Exactly. So I do think like that fear of, oh, I might annoy other people with being in their face all the time. Mm-mm. In terms of your organization, if you are a corporate employee, your managers should be, as I said, cheering you on. Because if your managers are actually rolling their eyes, I would question whether it is
they should do it as well.
the right organization for you to stay in.
Okay, back to the topics.
Yes.
Topics. What should I write about?
Yes. So when you actually block out your calendar like once a week on a Friday and you're like, okay, shit, what do I actually talk about? As I said earlier, just you could do a quick search on like what is happening in the news. You could think about what was a podcast, a book, or something you read or listened to throughout that week. Then you could literally think about your work. What meetings did you had throughout that week? Like, was it an internal meeting that was like really interesting where something came up? Or is it a client meeting or whatever like is happening in the world?
What's the learning
in your
from those meetings, I guess?
Exactly.
Not that I did this. I did this meeting. Yeah, but
Yeah,
what?
Exactly. So
Yeah.
what? And also, it doesn't need to be like always like this like key insight. It can also just be like about like the feeling you had in the meeting, like that you actually had the courage to say something that you were contemplating whether you should say it or not, and what was the outcome of you actually speaking up and getting out of your comfort zone. So it can be on the emotional side as well, so not just the facts about how
Okay.
whatever is changing.
Or like a debate you had in your mind on how to approach it, for example, and why you came to the decision rather than.
Exactly.
Okay.
And sometimes also, if you are thinking of something you want to talk about, but you're not quite sure whether you should talk about it, that could be a post in itself. You could do a post saying,
Interesting.
I want to talk about this, but I'm scared because of XYZ. That makes a brilliant post on its
Because
own.
the human side of you.
Yes.
So it has high
Yep.
engagement.
Yep.
What other human sides that you could draw out on a post?
So think about your private life. What is happening in your private life? LinkedIn is becoming much more a human kind of platform, not as much pure corporate anymore. Because especially since COVID, our lives just merged so much, home life and work life, that people want to see the human aspect, especially with TikTok out there, Instagram. we see so much like raw content, and Gen Z is like brilliant at this, where they're just like filming themselves as and when with like no makeup. Like we're getting more and more used to the rawness, and this is what is coming onto LinkedIn more and more. So don't be scared of posting something personal. Ideally, I would always say try to like tie it somewhat back to work. It doesn't need to be as cringe as like what my dog taught me about like B2B marketing.
I mean, if I say one more post, what this taught me about that, I'm like, what the potatoes cutting taught me about work.
But then also
And-
you could actually do it and just make it funny. You could like literally
Fair.
address that. Think about what is happening in your personal life that you could simply
Yeah.
talk about. Also, by the way, like posts where you just introduce yourself perform incredibly well, where you literally just say like, hey, I've never really posted on LinkedIn. For those who
Yes.
I've connected with, and
Yeah.
just say like who you are, what you're currently doing, what your ambitions are, and just talk about yourself.
So one of the questions that came on socials is actually personal versus professional. What's the line? So when you bring things from your private life or your personal life, obviously LinkedIn at the end of the day it's human, but it's a professional platform.
Yeah.
And you don't want to necessarily want to cross it. I don't want to say the same content I see on Instagram. Otherwise, I would be on Instagram. You know what I mean? So what is that thin line?
Everyone has a different line.
Yeah.
Everyone's line is different.
Yeah.
Someone might be super happy to share way more personal things than other people, and there is no right or wrong. Like, but again, like our lives are so intertwined, and work is such a huge part of your personal life that we can definitely talk about it, because whatever happens in our life privately will also shape our work experience and
Yeah.
what we do for a living, like the way how we've been brought up. For me, for example, like I didn't grow up in like a rich like financial situation. So for me, it was always like the hustle for money, and that's why I ended up in sales. That's something
Yeah.
I can talk about.
Nice.
But
But you
yeah,
connected with work in that angle.
and to be fair, you can also put out a post that is not work related. I just mean like don't put out just
Yeah.
work related posts. But if there's a post here and there that is just personal, that's also absolutely fine, because again, like you build that human connection
And
with
and
people.
it's normal if you think about bringing yourself to work. And I remember some of my best posts actually from a support. I'm not going to call it engagement because for me it wasn't about the metric support, but also people messaging me was when I was talking about my dad and my grief and losing my dad last year. But it was actually, when I think about it, I was posting it from a perspective of why it's important as a manager to give space to your employee, because I went through it. How do you pick yourself up, for example, to show up at work when you're going through grief? Or three, what are the workplace policies that we should rethink when people need space? So it was because I went through it now, I realize what do we need to change?
I love this, and there will be so many people reading this thinking, I resonate with this because I've been in the
Yeah,
same
you went-
situation, or saying, I never thought about this. So it's great that you're sharing it.
So yeah, I want to add that personal angle.
And also, by the way, if you would have put out that post without your personal story and just talked about like bereavement policy,
It wouldn't make sense.
nobody would have
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Exactly. Why we should have bereavement policy? Who cares? Yes, exactly.
exactly.
I suffered, so that's why I want.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what I'm talking about.
exactly. It's how it impacted you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Let's say I have some ideas now. You told me ideas to post about. How do I structure post? I'm not saying let's go to an extreme copywriting
Yeah.
framework, but what are the principles that I should think about? Opening, I don't know.
Yeah. Advice for anyone who's completely new to posting and they want to embrace it, I say just post. But if you want to think about like a bit of a structure, I always think of like 3 parts to a post, which is the hook, the meat, and the end. So the hook is the first like 2 lines that you can see before you have to click on see more. And I can guarantee in 99% of the time, if I just see the hook and the asset, like the image or
Image, yeah.
whatever goes with it, if I see this, I can determine whether that post went viral or not, because it's so like that makes or breaks a post.
Yeah.
So those first 2 lines of your post, they need to be curiosity inducing. They need to be like a bit bold, maybe even controversial if that's
Yeah.
your vibe, but just something that makes people like stop the scroll and click on see
Yeah.
more, because if they scroll on, the algorithm will hate it.
Yeah. So how can you draw the curiosity and the interest enough to press more?
Exactly. And it's trial and error. You're learning. Like I have some hooks where I look back and I think like, what the fuck was I thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like
Yeah.
it's an art.
It's an art.
It's an art.
It's
And then
like sales actually, or marketing if you're in that space.
And then the meat of the post is basically like the core aspect. This is where I always say, like, weave in that storytelling, that personality, like, how do you speak? Because a lot of people use AI for creating the post. We can all smell it from a mile away. You can still use AI to help you craft your post, but just make sure that you weave in the way how you speak. I always say, like, write the meat of your post as if you were sitting with a friend at lunch and you're talking to them about exactly what you want to talk about in your post, in your own language. And then the last bit is the end of the post, which is that kind of like, maybe like a sum up, like a one-liner about, what are the key takeaways, like bringing it back to like the hook, or just triggering a discussion, like leaving like the audience with a question and having them comment under your post.
Nice. And I like how you said speak, write how you speak. And what helped me at the beginning with LinkedIn is voice notes. So I had my idea, I was dictating my idea as a voice note, and then I would then structure it on the back of this. So you can see my phrases is how I speak. It's like I'm talking through it. And now I'm using a lot of AI, but it's for that structuring, filtering, what am I missing? I still have the meat as my voice, but I might then say, okay, help me structure that random idea that I had.
But that voice note is brilliant.
Yeah.
So I always use like the notes function on my phone, and it's filled with so many like ideas. So you literally use that like transcribe microphone button.
Yeah, exactly.
And you just talk into it, and you don't need to be scared of saying like not sure, or like you just talk, and then you have that draft, and then you can like work your way through it. It's brilliant.
Exactly. Okay. We have this. So, two other questions that I had is around the profile. How, if you're in a job, and probably let's talk about the category of people that are not do not have a side hustle. Let's talk about the people that are in the corporate job, so they might want visibility or like eventually moving internally or externally in another job. Profile wise and everything, how can you make your profile look better
Yes.
for job hunting, recruiters, everything?
Yeah, perfect. First of all, I just want to like in general say to everyone, your LinkedIn profile is yours. Your company does not own your LinkedIn profile. You can do with it whatever the fuck you want. When I was at LinkedIn and I hadn't handed in my notice, I wasn't planning on leaving LinkedIn, but just to make a point of it, I changed my banner to a bright pink one. And that was literally just to put out that like stance of, it's my LinkedIn, I can do whatever I want with it. So that, first of all, yes. But also you can, like literally the banner of your profile is the first thing that people will see.
Yeah.
It would be great if you put wording on it. So if you're a corporate employee, you could literally say, and I know this sounds so boring now, so think about like something more fun, but like saying like, I'm passionate about marketing, or I'm a passionate marketeer. As I said, like this is very, very boring.
Or what you do in your day to day. I'm thinking of mine, helping Fortune 500 companies become more profitable
Exactly.
with marketing and advertising. I don't know.
Exactly. If you are in sales, that's perfect. Or if you're not, even if you're in sales, like if you're in accounting or something, think about like what do you actually do
What do you
in your
solve?
job?
What do you-
Put this
yeah.
onto your banner, because as I said, it's the first thing that people see. It's free advertisement space. People know instantly what it is that you do. Then your headline also should be like a bit more like curiosity inducing. Look, if you're in a corporate job, put your role in it. That's fine. Like customer success manager at Google, for example. But then you can also put in like what you're passionate about. Like, for example, if you're leading one of the employee resource groups, put that in, like woman at Google, for example.
Yeah.
Put in if you won an award. I know a lot of people shy away from saying they're like a top performer, especially if you're in sales. Like so in my corporate career, especially like in those big organizations, there's always like sales incentive trips.
Yeah.
And whenever I won them, I was thinking about doing a LinkedIn post about it, but then I thought like, oh, that is so braggy. And yes, it is braggy, but also on the other hand, why not?
You did it.
You
Yeah.
did it. Be proud of it.
Yeah.
Put it out into the world. And also your clients, they will think like, oh, I have a good account manager. Like that salesperson is good. I should trust them.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also again, like for internal promotion, like you need to show what it is like that you have accomplished. You cannot rely, and that was actually something my sister said. I just want to put my head down, and I want my manager to recognize.
It's like you need to talk about your work and you need to show it. It's not just waiting. And in general, for getting ahead promo wise, it's not just waiting to be noticed.
It's so true. One of the biggest hacks in my career was internally in like our team's chat. that I always shared, like
Yeah.
any sort of like positive thing that happened. I just made sure that I shout from the rooftops whenever
Yeah.
something positive
Good for
happened.
you.
But
And
going
then-
back to
yeah,
the
headline,
profile,
yeah.
So headline, put in your kind of
Yeah.
achievements, and then what is hugely underutilized is the featured section.
Mm.
So what you should do, and I would encourage any corporate employee to do that, go on podcasts. Try to pitch yourself to journalists, to media, and write newsletters, because then you're like a true expert, kind of like in the industry, where you show up as an employee at XYZ, but you're sharing your expertise as a finance professional, as a marketing professional. So there is someone, her name is Sarah Adam. She is the head of influencer marketing at Wix. She's a normal employee, but her featured section is her speaking on stage,
Nice.
is her contributing to articles, is her on a podcast. That just screams thought leadership.
Yeah. And it also opens up opportunities, because if she ever wants to leave the job, it's like, actually, I don't need to pitch myself. It's kind of pitching for itself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A future company, they will slip into your DMs.
They-
They want to hire you. Any company would do whatever they can to have you in their team,
Yeah.
just for their visibility and also for the credibility you have built as an expert in your industry. Like your chances of getting a job are just
Yeah. And
so
everyone
much
is checking LinkedIn. It's not just CV.
CVs
It's
are
not
dead.
just CVs. Okay. And then what about the about section? Just whatever you do on your job, and yeah.
always written in the first person. It can be
Okay.
more human. It does not need to like match your CV. Just talk about who you are, why you got into the field that you're doing, like what is your passion, like why are you passionate about it. You can also say, like, if you have been in your career for like 10 years, you can say like, oh, I've been in like B2B tech sales for 10 years, spanning SAP, Mastercard, Gartner. Now I do this. And just list a little bit like what it is that you do, ideally like outcome focused. So think about like, again, like who do you help to achieve what and how. Write it in that way. There is a bit of a difference if you are an entrepreneur. There's a bit of like a different like structure if you have services to sell, because then it should be woven into that about section as well, like the offering and how do
Okay.
you help others.
Yeah.
But if you're a corporate employee, focus more around like your expertise and how you work with your clients or your teammates. If like your clients are your internal customers, so it's clients on both
Yeah.
sides.
And what I shouldn't do in my profile or my posting. Like, what are the, please don't do this. I guess.
Alright.
What to avoid.
All right. First of all, with your profile, what to
Yeah.
avoid is, I mean, your profile picture is, I don't actually need to say it out
Yeah.
loud, but it's like have a professional picture, like smiling, zoomed in, not sunglasses, not
Yeah.
a selfie, like professional. We want you to be credible. That's on the profile. And also a lot of people forget to add their skills onto their profile. This is really important for
Okay.
headhunters to actually find you.
Interesting. Yeah.
And also, if you work for a big organization, internal headhunters, they also exist. Like they also look at people inside an organization who might be a good fit for a role. So you want to make sure that, you have your skills
Yeah.
on your profile matching
Okay.
to the
See, I
role.
was always ignoring that. I never thought about it. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So that's about the profile. In terms of posting, as I said, when you're just starting out posting, just post. Don't worry about this. The only other thing is you see most corporate professionals when they post on LinkedIn is they just put out those posts saying, I'm happy to announce XYZ. As I said, it's fine to brag, etc., but weave something in why this is meaningful to you. Like what was like something that really made it a post worthy thing.
Or like the change. Where did that change come from? What you were looking for? I don't know, whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. Or if
Yeah.
you have won like, I don't know, a sales award, write down like the challenges you had this year and why you're so damn proud of yourself, because it was really tough. Or you can say like that was like one of the key innovative ideas I had throughout the year that got me over the finish line. Whatever it might be, but just don't say like, I'm honored to announce I won this award, full stop.
Yeah. What is it something that you feel we haven't covered, but people should know when they're starting or they're in their LinkedIn journey?
Consistency is key, and I know it is so boring to say that, but just stick with it. It's really tough in the beginning when you start putting yourself out there. As I said, like you get only 1 or 2 likes, and the first you will have people, as I said, like with the Cringe Mountain, the people stuck at base camp. There might be someone like asking, "Why are you doing this?" And that doesn't necessarily mean it's a negative comment.
Yeah.
They're genuinely wondering, like, why are you doing it? Because they haven't understood that mindset shift yet. So don't be disheartened by it. Stick with it. And the thing is, if you stick with it, I promise, wholeheartedly promise, it will pay off. It will pay off in whatever shape or form. Like it will pay off. So just stick with it. And then if you feel uncomfortable posting, if even after you listen to all of this and you still are not quite sure, which is also fine. By the way, when I first thought about posting on LinkedIn, it's not that I thought about it and then I started like properly
Yeah.
posting. Like it takes like encouragement, more and more posts seeing where like bigger creators say like, this is how my life changed because I started posting. Like it takes time, so fair enough. But if you don't want to fully jump in and post, focus on engagement in the back end. So that means you could weave yourself into the whole LinkedIn game by leaving comments under other people's posts.
Yes.
See what is popping up in your home feed and just leave a comment. Just add your opinion. That is like an
Genuine curiosity and engagement.
exactly. And also, I would highly recommend send connection requests to people internally, your managers, senior leaders. Who the fuck cares? Like I was in the beginning, I was like, oh, I can't send them like a connection request. They're like senior.
I
Like, what
thought
do
the
they think?
same, but they all
Accept it because also for them it's like it's all talent management.
Yeah.
Like they want to see who are potential talent for their team in the future. Like they will connect with you, absolutely. And then again, like they will see your content if you were to start putting it out, but just connect with people. You never know how useful it might be in the future. When I was at LinkedIn, actually, a very, very senior leader, like globally, they are in the US, like huge person. They asked me, they sent me a message because they saw on LinkedIn that I had a mutual connection with a key client. When I was working at Gartner, I was working with CHROs, so C-level HR professionals. So I then helped facilitated introduction with that senior leader
Good.
and that previous person.
That's a great network to have.
So that's the thing, you never know how beneficial it might be,
Yeah.
your network. And LinkedIn has so many tools on like the recruiter side of things. Again, also in sales, for example, if you try to slip into a decision maker's inbox and they see you have mutual connections, way more likely to accept
Yeah.
a connection request.
And I think outside of that, as a closing thought, I want to make sure we cover is like my biggest benefit, the reason I love LinkedIn and I keep showing up on LinkedIn, it's actually the genuine connection and network. And like people like you, that I met you, you're here in the podcast. It's like, so I'm learning so many things from so many people, and everything that I'm like, how the hell would I go about it? I can see who I'm following and just genuinely ask, and people most of the times they will respond and they will be helpful. Might not now, might be in a month, you might be busy, but the network value of like learning and genuinely connecting, and you end up going in real life coffees, it's for me that's my favorite part. And not necessarily with an end goal of like, oh, I want them to whatever have a job later, but that connection element.
It is insane.
Yeah.
And as I said, like if you show up as yourself, you find your tribe, you find
Yeah.
genuinely really, really nice people. And as I said, they are also on this like Cringe Mountain kind of like journey. They all will cheer you on, like they will all be helpful and supportive. I have never thought how helpful and nice people can be on LinkedIn. And also that's like you enabled me to speak at Google. Like that is a key milestone for me as well,
Yeah.
being able to say I delivered a workshop. If I would have quit my job at LinkedIn,
Yeah.
but I mean, just like, how would you ever get an opportunity like this if you don't make
Yeah.
yourself visible? How would they know you exist?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what I think we should close with. Do it because how they would know you exist.
How the fuck would they know that you exist?
Okay. Thank you so much, Alicia.